Now that the first step has dried, we can continue on. I'm going to do this part of the petal right here. I'm still using the bright red. Just so we can get a separation from this petal. And again, I'm softening this outer edge. In this case, I don't want this part of the petal to be an extreme light, but we do need separation between the petals. This part right here will be dark. I hope you can see how it's starting to take shape. You can also see how the first layer has lightened considerably, which is typical. This part of the petal curves, so we'll have a little bit of color right there. And down here, this part of the petal is going to be bending away from the light, so I'll want to have it a little bit darker when we arrive at the end result. So I'm putting the paint just on the edge and letting it bleed back up into the petal area, with a little bit of help from me to guide it. Now for this next step, I'm going to be working on dry paper. I'll apply the paint where I want it to be, and then soften the outer edge. This helps me control where I want the paint to go, besides giving me an additional layer of value. This one, however, I'm doing with the wet paper. I kind of do both. There's no cut and dried. Whatever you feel comfortable is the right approach to it, is the way to do it. The end result is usually quite similar. Where I want more control, I work on dry paper. I'm using the same bright red, but as you can see, it's a little bit darker than the first one. Each layer gives you a little bit more intense color. So you can apply as many or as few layers as you choose, depending on the intense color that you want. Now I'm going to switch to a little bit bigger brush. And I'm going to do the dark side at the base of the rose here. And then I'm going to soften this edge. The area underneath those petals beside that one. And again, softening the edge. And I'm not liking what I got right there, so I'm going to come back in and add more paint to try to eliminate that bloom effect, and then soften it with a drier brush. And then this area inside will be dark again. And I think those areas are dry enough that I can come back in with yet more intense color, because these will be the shadow areas. I'm using more intense paint because this is supposed to be a red rose, so we want it to be dark enough to represent the red rose rather than a pink one. Again, softening that edge and hopefully not getting any blooms. That part of that petal, in my mind, is going to have a little bit of shadow from this petal, so the light won't be quite as intense on it there. And this turns away from the light, so it'll be also a little bit lighter. It's a play of light and dark that gives your roses shape. And again, we're going to have to let it dry because that's as much as I can do until it dries. So we'll continue on with step 3 when it dries.